us all away in truth. Premier League champions 2016, the amazing Leicester City.
Welcome everybody to the Third Touch Soccer Podcast. My name's Sam Leamy. I'm here with Connor Walsh for the weekly Thursday edition of the Third Touch Podcast. What's going on, mate?
Not a whole lot, buddy. I actually made it outside today and got some touches
Really?
on the rock.
Have you been playing? Come out of retirement?
I was just in my driveway, just doing some juggles, listening to some other podcasts, hanging out, enjoying the weather. It was fun.
Yeah, it's mid-60s today. I had a t-shirt on all day, got my hair cut, had a spring in my step, went to Whole Foods, took my kids had the day off today, so it's been a good day so far. But other than that, yeah, I didn't go outside and have some touches, but yeah, it seems like outdoor soccer season is here. The sun is out, the snow is melting, the birds are chirping. I heard some geese and ducks yesterday, going crazy, doing circles in the sky. But are you looking forward to our trip to Orlando next week?
I am, although I have to get work covered now that someone fell through, and I don't know if I can go now, bro. What are we going to do?
We'll figure it out. So 1 week away from the MLS season. Are you excited about this?
I can't wait. I'm very, very excited for the MLS season. Very excited. I'm looking forward to it. Each year, the last few seasons, I've gotten more and more into it. And one thing I would encourage to our listeners that are big fans of European soccer is just watch it, learn what players are good, and then once you start to appreciate certain players, you'll start to appreciate the league more, because it's definitely hard to get into. But I'm very excited for this upcoming season, and should be excited.
We're flying down on Saturday. We're probably staying in Orlando for a total of 36 hours. The most aggressive trip I've probably ever taken, apart from that Clemson trip a couple of months ago with you. But yeah, Orlando City, second. Is it the second or third season? Right, Orlando. Third season. Brand new stadium though this season, and I know they're tributing to the Pulse nightclub. They have a section of seating rainbow colored, so it'll be good. We'll be sitting with the NYCFC fans. For all you overseas listeners, that's New York City FC. This is their third season also, but it'll be good to see David Villa and Andreas Pirlo walk around again like we did at the end of last season in that conference semi-final, second leg.
Yeah, I'm expecting. I don't think that Villa will be walking around, but we'll see about Pirlo. Scrub.
Yeah, scrub. He's a scrub. But as you heard from that opening segment, breaking news in the last couple of hours, Claudio Ranieri, the Leicester City manager, less than 24 hours after losing away to Sevilla in the Champions League, 9 months after he won the Premier League with Leicester City, a 5,000-1 shot last season, was let go today in the last couple of hours. And we've talked about this in a few pods previously about how the board backed him, but is this a surprise today that they announced his sacking?
It has to be. I was very surprised when I saw on Twitter. I think it started circulating on Twitter, and I'm like, this can't be for real. And it's been something that I thought should have happened, but especially coming off, in all things considered, a good result in the Champions League. 2-1 on the road to a good Sevilla team. Not bad. Got an away goal. They're still in the tie. Have a shot to come home and potentially do something. So the timing surprised me. I thought they could have done it earlier in the season after some bad results or a bad string of results, but especially after getting a decent away result in their first ever Champions League campaign. Yeah, I'm surprised.
So regardless of the result yesterday against Sevilla, who are doing very well in La Liga this season, and you've spoke about them a few times, how they're challenging for the title and they're in and amongst the top four in Spain. Regardless of that result, and regardless of the championship last season, with their current state in domestically in the league and the cup competitions, he would have been, any other club would have let their manager go, right?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not out here to defend Ranieri in this season. I think I said literally the last episode that it was probably time for him to go, and they need to really look forward to surviving relegation. But it's just I'm surprised that a week after the board and the ownership issued the statement that we're sticking by him, we believe that he's the right man to do the job to help us survive relegation, that he's now been sacked. So I don't know if something has happened behind the scenes or if they've, been shopping potential other managers behind his back and that statement was just a smokescreen. I saw today just, again, this is all broke within the last hour or so that Roberto Mancini is the top candidate to replace him. Alan Pardew's name was thrown in there. So it's going to be interesting to see who they get. But I'm just surprised at the timing, especially after what happened yesterday. I know that one result isn't that important, especially because, if they get knocked out of the Champions League, it's way less of a big deal than getting relegated. And surviving relegation at this point has to be the priority. But it was just the timing is odd. And I don't know if something happened behind the scenes that convinced the board and the ownership to go through with this.
Yeah, considering the board backed him last season, 2 weeks ago, after this result, it is surprisingly about poor timing by the whole club. And, you mentioned something might have happened in the last couple of weeks, maybe conversations with the captain, the dressing room. He might have lost the dressing room now. But, I thought yesterday was a committed performance away from home, very inexperienced. Tottenham just scored 2-1 actually. Wanyama in the Europa League, breaking news. They're down to 10 men. Dele Alli sent off. But rewind 9 months, 5,000 to 1. They go on and win the league. And this season, especially the start of 2017, they haven't scored a league goal in 5 games. Vardy hasn't been putting the goals in. Mahrez isn't creating the chances. I think all his goals, Mahrez's goals this season, PFA Player of the Season last year, have all come from the penalty spot, and he's only contributed 2 assists. Now, it's a reshuffle midfield with Kante leaving to Chelsea, which is probably their most influential player. And I know Troy Deeney came out the other day and said, playing Leicester is so much easier now this season with getting to their back four. He felt last season we couldn't get past the midfield because Kante was playing, as 2 players. And once he had the ball, and turning to goal, he knew Kante was going to be on him, instantly. So they've had a reshuffle in that defensive midfield, and other teams are just creating more and more chances this season, and that's one of the reasons why their league form's been poor. And, if you can't stop the opposition getting forward, you're not going to create opportunities at the other end. But yeah, regardless of the result yesterday, the record in 2017 for Leicester has just not been good enough, and they've been dragged into that relegation zone, with the likes of Hull City, Crystal Palace and Sunderland. Now, Crystal Palace have already had a manager change. Hull City have already had a manager change. Sunderland have to take a look at themselves and go, is David Moyes good enough for the job, and is he going to get them out of there? Because now Leicester have done it, and those are the bottom 4 teams. Do you think that's the next step for Sunderland down there, who are currently bottom, correct? Second from bottom.
Yeah, I think that it's time for Moyes to go, and I'm surprised that they've stuck by him this long. Because I know Hull kind of started this season brightly, so they showed, decent signs. And Crystal Palace, I don't think anyone really saw them and I don't think anyone really expected them to be down this low. But Sunderland was the one team. Hull was I thought would get relegated just because they went into this season so unprepared. Their squad was so thin, and the ownership seems to more or less abandon the team. So, but yeah, I think it's time for Moyes to go. I don't know how much longer they can really hold out because it doesn't look good. It's not getting better. Their only real good result has been the win over Crystal Palace, which was a relegation battle, and that result still led to absolutely nothing really. They're still in the same position. They gained no momentum off of that result, and yeah, I think that it's time for Moyes to get the axe.
Yeah,
I don't know about Moyes. I know he was great for Everton, but he's had a real rough.
Yeah, he's probably still feeling the effects of his Manchester United time. I don't know. He built Everton up for 10 or so years, and he did a great job there. No one's denying him that. But, we previewed this Leicester City game against Sevilla, and you said, we both thought Sevilla were going to blow Leicester away. And they had over 70% possession yesterday, and they really did dominate the game. But I thought Leicester showed a lot of character in the second half, getting themselves into the game. They had a little bit more possession. And they got a vital away goal, and the tie is far from over. From a team who's struggling in the English Premier League, fourth from bottom, against a team who's, flying high in La Liga. Was the result a surprise to you, and was Leicester's performance a surprise to you?
I wasn't surprised in the first half. Leicester were pretty terrible in the first half. I thought Sevilla's pressing was pretty Barcelona-esque. You think 2 or 3 years ago, when Barcelona was at their prime. But that's kind of what you come to expect under a Jorge Sampaoli coach team. Just high pressing, high pressure, nonstop, relentless. And Leicester, their defending on crosses was poor. I thought Wes Morgan's tackle for the penalty that Correa ended up not scoring was...
It just seemed lazy. It seemed slow, lazy. It seemed like a championship team or a League One team playing against a Premier League team. That's what it looked like.
Exactly. And then Fuchs marking on the first goal was terrible. I thought, Escudero played a sick ball in. Sarabia's header was dope, but Fuchs was called ball watching and didn't even see Sarabia coming in over his shoulder, and he literally just jumped right over him. So I thought, like you said, second half was better. They got the goal. It could have been 3-0 in the first half, especially with Correa's missed penalty. But somehow they were able to manage to stay in, fight, and keep the tie respectable, and put themselves in a position where they can potentially go on to advance. Come the next game back in Leicester.
Yeah, I saw Gary Lineker's tweet straight after the announcement of Ranieri getting sacked. And Gary Lineker is a former striker for Leicester City. He hosts Match of the Day in England. Former England striker, and he has close ties to Leicester City. He tweeted, "After all Claudio Ranieri has done for Leicester, to sack him now is inexplicable, unforgivable, and gut-wrenchingly sad." Do you think it's sad? Do you think it's a sad story now? Because they're in the works of making this movie from Leicester coming up the leagues, avoiding relegation the season before they win the title. The Jamie Vardy story from non-league to Premier League, one of the top goal scorers last season. Is it sad? Is it a sad story? Is this the end for Leicester now, or do they have the capabilities with their players and the managers that are in talks of replacing Ranieri?
The team clearly has the capabilities, and a lot of these players have already survived relegation battle, and they were in a way worse position 2 seasons ago, and they ended up surviving relegation under Nigel Pearson. And
they should bring Nigel Pearson back. He was such a character. All you listeners who don't know Nigel Pearson, just go onto YouTube and YouTube Nigel Pearson post-match interviews. He was great. I don't even know who he manages now. Someone in the lower leagues, but him and Ian Holloway are probably the most charismatic managers to give interviews in the Premier League. But anyway, carry on.
Well, the reason why he got sacked is kind of funny too. Leicester was on their preseason tour in Thailand.
This is Nigel Pearson, right?
Yeah, and a bunch of his players including his son, were filmed basically harassing a Thai hooker in the bedroom. It was basically a sex tape, and yeah, he got sacked.
He just let his players do anything they wanted to, and especially his son.
He might be the right man for the job to bring in and survive relegation right now, but
if only Sam Allardyce was available.
Yeah, he's got his own issues right now over in South London. But what was the question?
So I just think, is it a sad story? Gary Lineker has said, he feels it's very gut-wrenchingly sad from Leicester to go from euphoric last season, the end of last season, lifting that Premier League trophy against all odds, to this. We're just over halfway through the season. They are still in the Champions League. And, and they're not in the bottom 3, but they're in a relegation battle. Is it sad? Is it a sad story?
I'm not sad. I think it adds to the entertainment of Leicester, and I kind of want them to get relegated, honestly, because I hated that they won the league last year. I mean, I thought it was a cool story, but
Why did you hate it?
they sucked.
Just because
It was
Arsenal?
just
Just
yeah.
because Arsenal didn't win?
Well, I mean, personally, it was Arsenal's best chance in a while to win
Yeah.
the league, and they bottled it.
And
so
it
did
wasn't.
Spurs.
It wasn't like Leicester just won the league. They won the league by 10 points. They walked away with this league last
Yeah.
season, and they
No, I
were.
know.
They were. They went to Man City and won at Man City. They didn't lose against Manchester United home and away. I know they did lose at the Emirates, but they beat Liverpool at home convincingly. They beat all the top teams, and a lot of people say other teams towards the end of the season rolled over for Leicester, which might be. I don't know if it's the case. I'm not even going to accuse any team rolling over. But their setup last season was so unique and such a long shot and such a good story. I think it is a little bit sad. And when Gary Lineker, one of my idols growing up, has come out with a statement saying it's got wretchedly sad. It's a sad story. I'm not going to feel sorry for the players. These are millionaire players. Vardy had a choice to go to Arsenal this summer and chose not to. He's probably regretting that right now. Do you think, Jamie Vardy?
Probably. It didn't really make sense to me why. I think everyone knew that it was a one-season wonder situation, that Leicester weren't going to compete. To say that they would be in a relegation battle, I think a lot of people are surprised about that, but they clearly weren't going to come back and do the same thing again. So I think it was a little bit naive on Vardy's part, on Mahrez's part, especially Vardy, because he's 29 years old now.
Yeah.
This is his one shot to play for a big club. And to pass it down, I think maybe he felt like he owed Leicester something because they were loyal to him. They believed in him, and that belief in him gave him the opportunity to go on and score the most goals in consecutive games last year, to have the season that they did. And, I think Mahrez is – I'm more, interested about Mahrez because Vardy was – whatever, he's 29, but Mahrez was so good last year.
Mm.
And this year –
PFA Player of the Year last season.
Exactly. And this year he looks like a completely different player. Very little goals, very little assists. Not as dangerous going forward. You saw so many moments last year of just pure individual skill from Mahrez that got him goals. I think about the one against Chelsea where he just dangled. I think it was Azpilicueta in the box like 2 or 3 times, and you saw so much of that. And
Yeah,
this
I haven't
year,
seen that at all this season from him.
there's been nothing. There's been nothing. And is he not a fraud, but is he a one-season wonder? Is he not as great as we thought? Or is he just giving up on Leicester and he needs to move on to, greener pastures?
No, I
don't
think
know.
he definitely still has the capabilities of doing those things because he did it over a long period of time last season. It wasn't the fact that he just had a couple of games went on a stretch. He did it consistently for 38 games last season, and he has shown slight glimpses. The game against Manchester City, him and Vardy had a great game. That was the Leicester of last season, and that was only 4 weeks ago. And since then, since that victory against Man City,
Nah, dude, that was December, bro.
it was it at the beginning of December? Right,
Yeah.
2 months ago then. Sorry, a month ago. 2 months ago. But that was
Okay.
that we have seen glimpses this season. Ghent just missed a great opportunity to make it 2-2 and put the tie to bed, but 18 minutes left in this one in the Europa League. Tottenham still winning 2-1 down to 10 men. And the Dele Alli tackle was absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. But yeah, Leicester, who are the guys in line, rumours right now, the next manager for Leicester?
I guess the top candidates, and again, this is all very, very fresh, but Roberto Mancini is number one. He was last over at Inter, got sacked from Inter. So, Alan Pardew. It's crazy how many games I've seen Alan Pardew at. He just has been sacked and just goes to as many games as possible. It seems like every weekend I'm seeing him, the TV cameras picking him up on at a different game. But he's in there. I'm just checking Twitter now. Pearson's name is being thrown back in the mix. So we'll see what happens in the upcoming hours and days.
Yeah, forthcoming. But yeah, I mean, Yeah, we'll see. I mean, this is fresh news that's come out. Claudio Ranieri has been let go of his duties from Leicester City. Third touch breaking news. That's how we roll these days, Connor. But yeah, I know you want to talk about the Champions League this week. It started last week, round of 16. One of the best games I've seen this season, by far. Manchester City at home against Monaco. 5-3. Now, I was working when this game was playing, and I caught most of it, and what I saw was, I don't know if it was like a mixture of great attacking play and poor defending, and I want to slate a few players here that we're about to, but I don't want to go too deep. I thought a lot of the goals were absolutely world-class, especially that Aguero volley and the Falcao finish. Was this the game of the season so far?
For me, it was by far the best match I've watched this season. Like you said, I don't know how much of it how much of it came down to really good attacking or really poor defending. For me personally, I thought that Man City, the goals that Monaco scored against Man City were all down to the errors that Man City have repeatedly made this season. The first goal, the equalizer that Falcao scored, came right off of Caballero, bad pass out the back. And I watched the game twice. I watched the game once live, and then at night it was shown again on Fox Sports 2, and I was watching with my dad. And we were just like, I was just saying, like, they are so committed to playing out the back, and they are there's no plan B. They never just kick the ball out, and they put themselves in pressure, especially in the first half, time after time again. I think Caballero had at least 3 bad passes, 2 that just went completely out of bounds. They wait way too long to get rid of the ball. But the first goal was Caballero bad pass. The second goal was Kylian Mbappe's sick finish, the 18-year-old who's absolutely lighting up the French league right now.
Yeah, well, what I think right now, I mean, Monaco went into this game, they're the highest scorers in Europe. Before this game, they scored 107 goals in all competitions. They're top of the French league by 3 points. And the way the game went with Cabanero's era playing out the back, Man City don't really have that bulky, old-fashioned centre forward or, a guy up front that can flick it on. They have, fast, inventive players up front like Aguero, Sane, Sterling. Those kind of players aren't going to jump up and flick the ball on. So that's down to Guardiola saying, let's, play out the back. And the way Monaco are, and, they were set up very well. And I don't know if Man City went into this underprepared, but, we spoke before and we were like, Monaco are going to score goals today. They are 100% going to score goals. And there was no surprise that they did score goals. And as the game went, it was playing out like who was going to score more goals, because Man City definitely looked dangerous. And I think David Silva had a fantastic game. So did Sane as well.
David Silva looked like he was 2-3 years younger.
Yeah, he had a great game.
Great.
So yeah, Sterling got one off Sane and Silva's interchangeable passes across the goal, 1-0, and then Falcao, instantly replied from Cabanero's error. Man City's problems are goalkeepers right now. What are your thoughts? I mean, Falcao missed a penalty as well. Cabanero saved it.
Yeah, later on in the second half, I thought that was what more or less turned the game around. I know that Falcao still went on to score that chip, but I think that game gave that save, gave Man City the belief that they could go on and win. But, Caballero overall was poor. He had a big save in the second half, saved the penalty in the second half. But for me, the center backs, though, were the biggest issue. John Stones kind of redeemed himself by scoring a goal later on, but he was... Dude, that Kylian Mbappe goal, the 2-1 in the first half.
Yeah.
The ball over the top, that's so easy. It's so basic to
him and the back four didn't know what they were doing yesterday. With Company out, another injury, Sagna and John Stones, you think those two pencils can communicate with each other?
Well, one thing about the back four that was very interesting, and it was a Pep Guardiola thing, just what he does. I don't know if you noticed, but Fernandinho started at left back because he said he had no other options. Meanwhile, Zabaleta was on the bench and later came on for Fernandinho. But what was happening was Fernandinho, especially in Sanya when it was on, were tucking into the holding midfield position, and Yaya Toure was dropping in as almost a third center back. So it was
the first two Monaco goals came from their right hand side, Man City's left back position.
Yes, exactly. I thought it was somewhat naive for Pep to play that kind of system where you have. I mean, I get it. He did that all the time with Bayern, especially, where he would have the outside backs tuck in the midfield. But I remember one instance in the first half where it was literally Fernandinho and Sanya next to each other playing holding mid with Yaya playing as a third center back. And like you said, those first two goals came from the left side. So I was surprised that Guardiola went through with that system, considering that he didn't have a natural outside back playing left back. But I just we talked about John Stones time and time again this season. This season and on this podcast. Same with Otamendi. They are just so shaky and so not confident, and Stones especially was so poor.
Yeah.
And the second goal, I mean, it was just a straight route one ball played over the top, and the defending on it was so poor. And Mbappe, I mean, young, fast, but he snuck in behind so easily. Had a really nice finish, and he's a player.
18-year-old kid as well.
He's a player that is one for the future. He's going to be. I know PSG tried to sign him this summer. Arsenal and Real Madrid are now linked to him for this upcoming summer. I'm sure PSG will be in the mix too, but he's a very, very talented striker. I think he's got 12 goals in all competitions in France right now after not playing the first half of the season. But once again, the defense and the goalies were Man City's downfall.
Yeah, Ghent just equalised against Tottenham. Looks like Tottenham are crashing out of Europe again. Maybe this is a good sign for their Premier League chances, but it's the same old story with Tottenham. But yeah, I totally agree. We've talked about John Stones time and time again, and he just looks like shit. And if he's not playing against world-class players, what is he going to learn? Really, along that back four, I'm saying, he lined up against a weakened back four, and if Kompany's not in there, and it looks like it's time for him to move on. Guardiola has a lot of, he has some shopping to do this summer, and he has to bring in some stronger defenders because John Stone isn't a leader right now. He's still a kid, and I think he's not as good as everyone thought he was going to be. And, going on to that second half, that Falcao, even though it was a world-class goal, John Stones just looked lost. He had a step ahead of Falcao, but Falcao pushed him out of the way, cut inside. John Stones just flopped to the floor. Fucking floor.
Yeah, then, absolutely embarrassed.
He chipped over the goalkeeper. Even if he didn't score that goal, he still would have been ripped. He looks like John Stones. He looks like Wallace out of Wallace and Gromit. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I used to watch that in my youth. He does, dude.
He looks like a clay character.
To be fair to Stones, I think that maybe he was a little overrated, but he has a lot of weight on his shoulders right now because Otamendi clearly isn't a world-class center back, or he isn't playing like one. No. He isn't playing like one that deserved the transfer fee that he got. But he's being asked. There's being a lot asked of him, and he hasn't really stepped up to the plate as of now. Mm-hmm. So let's just rewind a little bit. I think we talked about 2-1. Before that second goal, a few minutes before, was the penalty shout on Kuhn. What were your thoughts on that? To me, it was a clear penalty. It had to be
100% clear penalty. I thought the referee was a little bit unfair to Man City. I'm not going to sit here and feel sorry, but there were a few decisions Man City didn't get. But yeah, it was definitely a clear penalty, and he got a yellow card for the dive. But there was definitely contact there. He might have dragged his foot a little bit, but it's still a penalty for me. And to give it the other way, Guardiola was on the touchline waving an imaginary card for the goalkeeper to be sent off, and it went the other way. But yeah, I thought Aguero was a little bit unlucky with that one, but he showed his worth later in the game. He didn't get too frustrated with it, and he kept his head down like any world-class striker. And if Gabriel Jesus was fit for this game, do you think he would have started, or you think Guardiola would have given Aguero the nod just because of his experience in the Champions League?
That's a really good question. It's a good question. I think that Aguero probably would have started, because Gabriel's never even experienced a Champions League game, so let him sit on the bench, watch, observe for a little bit. Because one thing about the Champions League is that you have different countries with different styles of play, different tactics, which makes it so great. And playing in the Premier League is one thing, but playing in the Champions League is it's a step up, and you're exposed to better players, better, harder situations. And I think it would have done him some good to start on the bench. And Aguero was great, though. He really showed his worth to the team. 2 goals and an assist. The second goal was a really bad mistake from Subasic, the Monaco keeper.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the goals seem to be like simple balls over the top from both teams. Tottenham just missed a great chance to get themselves back in, but looks like they're still going out. But yeah, Aguero, it was just a ball over the top, and it was a pretty weak shot, goalkeeper error, 2-2 just after half-time. And then Falcao, like we just said, went on to score that wonder goal, John Stones' mistake. But then from there on, it was just like, how many goals are going to be scored? That was early in the second half, and I was watching it. I was like, this is turning in to be the most entertaining game of the year. And I thought Man City were going to get back into it. I didn't know it was going to go the way it was going to go. But you just had that feeling with that home support and the amount of chances that were being created by both teams. It was such an entertaining game. And then Aguero got them back with that volley off the corner. Absolute world-class finish. And, that's just like such a professional, just getting his head down and, just making the most of the situation he's in. I mentioned before, do you think it was world-class attacking or like poor defending? We've mentioned a few points that John Stones slipped up. We kind of focus on his frailties. But, did Monaco have some frailties at the back as well? Obviously, they must have because they conceded 5 goals.
Yeah, the goal that made it 2-2, Subasic made a bad mistake. So I guess there was some questionable goalkeeping for both teams. That shouldn't have been a goal. That was a fairly routine save, or at least it should have been. On the Aguero's goal that made it 3-3, Sidibe was lost. Aguero was just giving way too much space, and you can't give that much space to a player of that quality. Was it a great finish? Yes, but still, you gave him. Sidibe just lost him. I don't know if he was ball watching, but he just gave him, way too much room to be able to do that finish. And again, the goal, Stones were on the score 4-3. Poor marking.
First career goal, John Stones.
Yeah. Probably poor marking.
Pretty good time.
And then I think the goal that was, the last goal that made it 5-3 was just brilliant attacking from Man City.
That was all David Silva, and I think he was definitely man of the match in this game. He pulled all the strings, especially in the second half.
Yeah, and I don't think really many teams could have defended against that. So I'm not going to give Monaco too much flack for the goal that made it 5-3, but the 3-3 and the 4-3 definitely were poor marking. And for me, the City just made more individual mistakes that led to goals, I guess, that were more noticeable, while Monaco's were more, I guess, just team mistakes. So I kind of put the blame. I look at City and be more worried about them defensively than I would about Monaco, despite Monaco giving up 2 more goals. And that might sound really stupid, but Falcao could have scored a penalty.
Yeah, Falcao, after a bad spell in England with Chelsea and Manchester United, he looks like he's back home, he's comfortable, and he's banging in the goals, and he looks like the player he was before that serious knee injury in 2014. But how do you see this one going in the second leg? Is the tie over, or do you see Monaco,
No, it's a tough one because City does have a 2-goal advantage, and they're more than capable of grabbing 1 or 2 away goals, but Monaco are so dangerous. Bernardo Silva, top talent, young player. Mbappe's top talent. Falcao is playing sick. Lamar is sick. Fabinho's sick. And then João Moutinho didn't even play the whole game. He came on in the second half. So that is a very, very dangerous team. As we said, they were the highest scoring domestic team, and Barcelona was the only team that has scored more goals in all competitions. But after the 3 goals on Tuesday afternoon, Monaco overtook them. So now Monaco is the highest scoring team in Europe. But no, they're not out of it. one thing that's going to hurt Monaco is the center back Glick. He got the Polish center back got the yellow card in the first half. He's one of the highest scoring center backs in Europe, and he's been instrumental to them this season. But I think it's a tough one. I think Monaco is going to leave being a little disappointed, giving up, especially the fifth goal.
Yeah.
4-3, a little bit more manageable. It's going to be tough, but I think they have the firepower to do it.
And Guardiola, his reaction said it all when that fifth goal went in. He knew that was a very important goal for the tie. Yeah. And I like the slow motion. He really didn't know what to do with himself. He's jumping up and down the sideline, and it looks like he's about to do a knee slide or something. I don't know where he was going, but that was kind of funny, humorous to see what Guardiola was doing there. But
the only thing is, regardless of what happens in the second leg, City they're not legitimate contenders in this Champions League due to their defensive situation and due to their goalkeepers. Yes, they have world-class attacking talent and young world-class attacking talent, especially, Sterling and Sané both scored. Were both key in this match, but they're not going to win the Champions League with keepers playing where they're playing and then two shaky at best center backs.
And what's going to be very interesting is how they're going to bounce back from, a very exhausting game that they've just had. That must have taken a toll out of a lot of the players. And they're playing this weekend again, and they're in the title race, and they're going to go to Monaco again, and they're going to have another tricky game, and it's going to exhaust a lot of players again, and that's potentially 6 points that they could drop. So how they react to these type of games is going to show a lot what Man City can do in the Premier League as well. Because if they drop points this weekend, I forget who they're playing, and if they drop points against the team after they play the second leg, that's going to show that Man City aren't serious Champions League contenders right now. And, to a lot of English teams, they generally show a weaker performance after a European weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Man City have Sunderland. Actually, no, they have a lot of teams have this weekend off, actually. I know Arsenal have the weekend off. City also have the weekend off. They're playing Huddersfield next week in that replay match. Then they have Sunderland on the 5th when we'll be down in Orlando. But yeah, that's one thing that you see a lot from Premier League teams, or just teams in general, is the Champions League hangover. Having a midweek game that is of such importance and takes so much out of you. You think about a FA Cup midweek game, you're resting a lot of players. Players aren't playing a full 90. But a game like that was so up and back and required so much physical, just physicality and running around, they're going to be tired, but looks like they have the weekend off, which will be beneficial to them.
Right. Obviously, this wasn't the only game in the Champions League. You want us through the other games real quick?
Yeah, real quick. I didn't watch. The other game that day was Leverkusen Atletico. I just saw the highlights, but Saul scored a great goal starting things off. Antoine Griezmann also scored. Torres scored. But those 4 away goals should be enough to see them through. Leverkusen are having a bit of a tough season, currently in 9th place. Finished 3rd last season. Leverkusen were pretty good going forward, but they just self-destructed defensively. Wasn't good enough. And then other game was the game yesterday, the Porto-Juventus game. Porto got a red card at home. Juventus went on to win 2-0. Yeah, shout out to the homie Dani Alves for scoring. So that tie should be just about all wrapped up. 2 away goals.
And Manchester United went through to the last 32 of the Europa League. We've been having live updates from Tottenham Hotspur at home to Ghent. 2-2 it finished. Tottenham crashed out of Europe.
As a United fan, how much does the Europa League mean to you? Like, do you care at all? Because
as long as we're in it, I care. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Are you excited? Are you excited about potentially winning the Europa League, or if you win the Europa League, is it just like cool but whatever? Like,
yeah, it's cool. Whatever. It's like winning the FA Cup, or I mean, it has more meaning. There is that Champions League place up for grabs for winning the Europa League, and we're still in 6th place. But as we're playing against Saint Etienne, it's not really that much to get excited about right now. When I'm used to Manchester United playing the likes of Barcelona, Juventus, Real Madrid, PSG, sitting myself and making time for Manchester United Saint Etienne at noon on a Wednesday, I've got better things to do. I'm sorry, I know I am a fan and that might sound really shitty, but regardless of the time, date in the Champions League, I'm making time for Manchester United. It's just more importance to that competition. And the tie was already won. We won 3-0 at home, 1-0 away. Onto the next round. And I feel like there's too many rounds. It's the last 64, then the last 32, then the last 16, then the quarterfinals, then the semi-finals.
It's a much bigger.
It's like the 2026 World Cup, yeah.
Yeah.
I do care. Yeah, I do care. And once the latter rounds start approaching, I'll get more excited. But the competition isn't the strongest. Saint Etienne, I'm not too sure where they are in the French league. But it's not really that much to get excited about. But Man United threw out a strong team again. The Saint
Etienne fans were out for it
yesterday. Yeah, how often do they get a chance to play against Manchester United?
In the Europa League each season.
Yeah, great. But it was good to see the Pogba brothers getting together. The family was there, and Paul obviously came out on top, throughout his whole life. But yeah, it was good to see the Champions League back, and you've said in the past it's been very predictable, but there've been some very good games. I feel like the quality has been there. No one's doubting the quality of the Champions League. In terms of quality, I think the Champions League is higher than the World Cup, even though the World Cup you get more excited about. But I like the competition, and there's a few ties that look over. There's a few in the balance, especially that Leicester City game that we spoke about just now, and the Man City game, Monaco game. I'm really looking forward to that second leg. I'm not a supporter of both teams, but watching that first leg is such a great advert for football and the Champions League. But yeah, the Europa League. It's I'm watching the teams come up now, and there's some teams I don't even know. Astra from Romania. Astra Guergi from Romania. I've never even heard of them. Never heard of that team. So to get excited about the Europa League, it's hard to, especially on a Thursday. The Premier League's coming. You've just had great games in the Champions League. On to Wayne Rooney in the news today. As of yesterday, he came out with a statement today. Yesterday, his agent flew over to China to see if he could get a deal for his agent, Wayne Rooney. As of today, Wayne Rooney has released a statement saying he's staying at Manchester United until the end of the season. He was able to go to China, potentially, because the Chinese transfer window is still open. What are your thoughts on this? Is it time for Rooney to move on? We've discussed it briefly in previous podcasts.
I think that his time at United has come to an end. He's not in the first 11 usually.
I just want to know where he is, Connor. I don't think he's injured. He's
not good enough.
He's rarely on the bench.
Where do you think he is? He's not. He's left out the 18 or left out the starting 11 because he's not good enough. He's old and slow. Rooney plays way older than his age. And I don't know if that's because he's been a professional since he was 16 years old and he's aged faster than most players, but there's other guys that are his age that don't look as old as Wayne Rooney does when he plays. And Rooney's had some good moments this season, but he's slow, he's off the pace. Where does he really contribute in that team except in the lower competitions? Mm-hmm. It's just he's older than his age says, and he's not going to be. Do you want him to stay at United and do what? Sit on the bench or not be included and just train? What's the point?
Well, I'd like to compare him to Ryan Giggs, I would say, because Ryan Giggs around this age started losing his pace and, was dropping to the bench and wasn't starting every game. I'm not saying Wayne Rooney should start every game. I think what Wayne Rooney is coming up against right now is the strength of that Manchester United squad. It's stronger than what Ryan Giggs had to compete with when he was at Wayne Rooney's age, so he was getting more minutes on the field. And we've got so many players in Wayne Rooney's position who are far more capable than Wayne Rooney to make an impact in a game. So that's the problem that Wayne Rooney faces at Manchester United. I still think he can influence a game, but with the competition he has within that squad, it's just getting harder and harder for him to get that opportunity. And
So you think is next?
What's next? I think the MLS is next. I
hope not.
Why hope not? He's not. I mean, obviously he would be a DP player, but he's not at that age where he is going to treat it like a retirement league. You don't think Wayne Rooney can come over here and dominate?
No.
Are you serious?
I don't.
Really?
I honestly don't.
Okay.
Dude, look how slow he is. He's 31 years old. He plays like he's 35. And the MLS is showing that they're moving past this old model. They don't need Wayne Rooney.
But
I don't.
But like Robbie Keane wasn't the fastest guy. I mean, he's probably faster than what Wayne Rooney is right now at his age. But he can play in that similar role. And Robbie Keane had a huge impact in the MLS.
I agree with that, but Rooney has been at one club for so long, has won so many titles that he's not going to come over here and care about LAFC or the Galaxy or New York City. He's not going to care. He's not. And
no, I think he'll care. And
what I think he should do is go back to Everton for one season, sit on the bench at Everton and retire as an Evertonian. That's what I think he should do, because I do not want Wayne Rooney in the MLS.
I honestly don't think the Evertonians actually want him back. He said he wouldn't play for another Premier League club apart from Everton and Manchester United. And, with his agent going over to China, I don't know if that was a publicity stunt or just to get the media riled up. But I honestly cannot see Mr. Wayne Rooney over in China with his wife and kids. I just cannot see that. And his pet dog and cat or whatever the fuck he has. I can't see him chilling in Shanghai and eating exotic foods. He's way more comfortable being in Manchester or Liverpool or somewhere in America. Can you honestly see him over in China?
No, he doesn't seem like the type of guy that is looking for that, especially at his age. Like he's not looking for that. He wants to be comfortable and not be in a country of 1 billion people that he doesn't speak the same language as. He's not 26 years old where he can, you know what I mean? Like, he just doesn't need it. He doesn't need it. I mean, the money's going to be great.
Well, the guy barely leaves his front lawn. You can see Wayne Rooney retiring, just going onto his front lawn like Tom Hanks out the Burbs, picking up the paper and barely leaving his block. I just cannot see him at all going to China. His personality's dull. His friends are probably the worst fucking guys in the world. I don't know. It would be the worst night out with Wayne Rooney. But I don't see rolling out the MLS. I think it's I don't know in terms of the MLS, the move, the marketing wise for Wayne Rooney. I still think he has stuff to offer on the pitch. I disagree with you a little bit. I think he can come to the MLS and definitely make an impact. In 5-10 years, maybe not, because the MLS
10 years?
I said
41.
in 5. No, imagine if.
Okay.
The way the MLS is growing, but I mean, we'll see what happens. He'll probably leave at the end of the season. He is only 31. We got to remember that, and he still has a few years, but he's entering those latter years in his career where he really needs to decide what he wants to do, because he's definitely not going to sit on the bench for Manchester United for the next 3 years. His contract expires in 2019, I believe. So he does have a couple of years left, but he'll be 33 then, and unless he wants to retire then, which I don't think he will, but potentially moving to China, his England career's over. He wants to play in the next World Cup. So in terms of that, that's next season. So does he stay on Manchester United next season, stay on the bench and just automatically get picked for that England squad for 2018?
He shouldn't be picked.
Why not?
He's not, because every time he plays for England, he slows him down. He's not an asset to the national team or to United. He just isn't. I mean, watch the games he plays. He's slow. He makes questionable decisions. He just doesn't have it anymore.
As of now, he's still the captain of England. Like right now, if England to play tomorrow, he's walking out on the field and wearing the armband.
That's fine, but the World Cup's still a whole other year away. He's going to be a whole year older and slower and fatter and dumber and probably spend more money on hair extensions.
Do you think he's going to go to that World Cup?
He shouldn't.
That wasn't the question. Do you think he will go to that World Cup?
I don't think he will, and I don't think he'll be picked simply because of the amount of young talent that is providing more value to their teams currently in the Premier League than Wayne Rooney.
Is Jack Wilshere still young?
He's 24 years old. Yes, he's still young.
Is he going to make the World Cup squad?
Absolutely, he'll make the World Cup squad. And that's
Fucking serious, dude.
Dude, are you serious? Why would he not?
All right, I know. What do you mean? Why would he not? He's playing for Bournemouth. He's having a bang average season.
Bang average.
Bang average. You think Jack Wilshere is having a better season than Ross Barkley right now?
Yes, because Wilshere plays every game and plays 90 minutes. Barkley's on the bench half the time.
That wasn't the question.
So, I just gave you the answer to the question. Wilshere's playing. Barkley's chosen the bench and doesn't contribute anything because he's an idiot.
Because fucking Gareth Southgate's clueless, and he probably will pick Jack Wilshere for the squad.
Wilshere's last 6 games for England, he's been the man of the match. So I don't know where it's not my opinion. He's literally been voted man of the match.
In the Euros, did you watch the Euros?
Going into the Euros, the 6 games before the Euros, the whole team was a joke at the Euros. It's not Jack Wilshere's fault that your country lost a bunch of fishermen from Iceland and a dentist as a manager.
All right, well, I mean, it's a tricky one for Wayne Rooney because he is on the bench for Manchester United. He obviously has offers from around the world. He has offers on the table as we speak. His agent probably has multiple pieces of offers, paper, and he's laying them out for Wayne Rooney, as we speak. And I'm sure the MLS can work out a package for Wayne Rooney. I don't think the MLS don't want Wayne Rooney. You don't.
I never said that.
Yeah, I know. You may not want Wayne Rooney, and other MLS fans may not want Wayne Rooney because they're carrying the burden of overweight. I wouldn't say he's overweight, but a slower Wayne Rooney. He's better than a lot of players in the MLS, and even if he came in, he wouldn't be the worst DP player in the MLS. But I'm sure he's had offers in Europe. He's probably had offers in Italy, Spain, obviously in China.
Spain?
That's good. You don't think any Spanish team? I don't know.
Maybe in the 3rd division.
Obviously there's been offers in China. There'll be offers from India. I'm sure there's plenty of money there. Shout out to Steve Coppell, who just took his team to the final. Love Steve Coppell. But yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one for him because he's 7 caps behind the all-time leading appearance holder for England. He obviously wants to, surpass that record like he did with his goals. He's the leading scorer of England, and he definitely wants to go and lead England out in the next World Cup.
It's great that he wants to.
And as an England fan, I'm torn right now because I've stood by Wayne Rooney, season after season. And sometimes when I do see him for England, he has great games, but I'm not gonna.
When was the last?
I'm not gonna sit here and defend Wayne Rooney and said, at tournament after tournament, and go, yeah, he's definitely our best player in these tournaments. He clearly isn't, and I've given him time and time again to prove himself. So every England fan has, and every manager has, and we see him not producing the goods for England. He scored a couple of goals in the Euros. He scored 1 goal in the last World Cup. But I've seen him I'm probably going to get shot down by this comment in a minute by our listeners, but I've seen him in friendlies against world-class teams, against France just before the Euros. He was by far the best player on the field. By far the best player I've seen. I know it was only a friendly. Dude. I know it was only a friendly. But I've seen him have...
I would say the same thing about Pulisic in a friendly, and you would destroy him because it's a friendly.
I mean, it was the warm-up for the Euros. But yeah, I protected myself by saying I might get ripped for this. But I've seen him have good games, and my opinion... I'm going to give you my opinion right now. Wayne Rooney's England career should end today. Yes, I think he should not play for England anymore.
That's very mature.
I think we should move on from the Wayne Rooney era like we did with the Gerrard and Lampard era. I think it's time to
Jam hard.
Jam hard. But I think it's time to move on. I really do. I think England need to move on. They need to, have a new direction. And I don't think Wayne Rooney can take that direction. But who the fuck is going to be our next captain, Connor? Who really is going to be the next England captain?
Honestly, it'll probably be Jordan Henderson.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's just the reality. That's not me. I don't like him. I think he's an okay player, but he'll be the captain.
Okay.
He will be.
All right. Well, run out of time here. Actually, we have one question from one of our listeners at Problems999. I have no idea who that is. Hopefully, he doesn't have too many problems. He said, "Would you rather see this directed to you, Connor? Would you rather see Wayne Rooney or Mario Balotelli in the MLS?"
Balotelli, 100. That's not even a question. He's 26 years old, 9 goals and 14 appearances for Nice this season. Besides his 2 terrible years at Liverpool, which he was wasted, he's been a good striker. 26 goals and 43 appearances at Milan, 20 goals. He has a good goal record for every club he's ever played for in Liverpool. He's 26. He has something to contribute to the MLS for 5 years, as opposed to Wayne Rooney, who has nothing to contribute. I mean, he has something to contribute, but the MLS is moving past the model of needing a Steven Gerrard to make the league interesting. The league is interesting now because they have good players that aren't 35 years old. Like,
yeah,
that's just my opinion. What do you think?
I think Balotelli would give the MLS a huge facelift, I guess. Is that the right word? Words?
They need a player like him.
MLS
needs
a
a
lot
player
of character.
that is,
yeah, I mean, he's
character.
entertaining. He's on our TVs. He's going to be very entertaining, and he's a very good player when he wants to be. And I think the MLS might be a very good fit for him. And I think he can spread his wings and fly. He'll have that opportunity. He doesn't have to train at 100%. The pressures of winning medals isn't going to be on his shoulders. The pressure of him scoring goals isn't going to be on his shoulders. Obviously, he'll be a DP player, but I think he would find the MLS pretty easy. And that's no offense to the MLS, but he's one of that type of players who's at that age that can come over. And I think it would fit into any team in the MLS. I think it'll be very interesting acquisition if that ever happens. So thank you at Problems999 for that question. But yeah, Manchester United, Southampton, League Cup final this weekend. How do you see that one going?
United, I think.
United.
Are you excited? I mean, it's silverware.
Yes, I am excited, yes. I'm going to watch the game.
Yeah.
It's a cup final. It's at Wembley, and there's no need not to get excited for that game. But we're running out of time. Thanks for everyone for listening. Subscribe, download, tweet us at The Third Touch. Appreciate you tuning in, guys. We spoke about me and Connor going down to the MLS opening day down in Orlando, New York City FC, but we'll be back on Sunday.
Yeah, and real quick before Sam closes us off, we'll be doing a MLS preview episode in the very near future.
All right.
Probably Sunday. I think I may have just announced that to Sam without talking about it with him.
Any English listeners out there, don't download the next episode because it's just strictly soccer geeky MLS fans on the next one. But we appreciate it, guys. Keep on listening, tuning in. Tweet us at The Third Touch, and we'll see you next time. Well, we'll post information next time. In a bit.
Yeah.
Cheers.
See you guys.
The big stuff.